It is summertime. The temperatures are rising and the gas prices continue to rise even higher. But how can you maximize your earnings, maximize your hustle, your grind? Find out one way you can do that on this segment of the Gig Geezer. If this is your first time checking out the Gig Geezer, thanks for coming by. And if you're a returning visitor of the Gig Geezer, hey, thanks for coming back. Well, it is Wednesday, June 8th. It is overcast. There's signs of rain. In fact, I see some rain trying to patter itself on my vehicle. And I am about 2 hours and 15 minutes into my first half hustle. I'm in the process of dropping off what is of a $12.75 shop and pay DoorDash order from Dollar General. It had 16 items. Well, half of the items were refunded. The good thing about DoorDash, when it's a shop and pay, you don't have to worry about whatever tip amount being reduced because of a percentage of the purchase. That's the good thing. The only thing that you have to worry about is whether the customer is going to trash you in a rating because they didn't get all what they're looking for. In this case, I communicated with the customer rather extensively. I showed on 5 or 6 different occasions in which substitutions may need to be made, but the app, and this is the key thing when you do shop and pay with DoorDash, there seems to be times in which the app will not allow you to make certain substitutions. In fact, if you try to go around it, the app won't do it. And so unless the customer goes into the app and says, okay, I want a substitution for this item, then you can't do it. It's gonna say issue. It's gonna give you the option of continue shopping and wait for the pending substitution approval by the customer, or you just have to refund the item. And that's what I had to do. Now, the $12.75 order will bring me to about $76 for this current hustle. The other orders that that comprise this amount so far is a $31.41 catering order from Zoe, a $7.25 Bojangles order. The reason why I took it is because it had 7 items on it. And while the Para app isn't working today, and I try not to be overly dependent on any single app, I try to rely on my experience and instincts. I thought this order might eke out to about $8 in pay, but it didn't. It was $7.25. Fortunately, I had the catering order to come right after it. Now, other orders, $7.95 Uber Eats from Bad Daddy's, $8.23 order from Starbucks, and then an $8.61 order from Grubhub from Hibachi Steakhouse. So far it's going better than it did yesterday. Now, I was out for only first half hustle, and part of my day was interrupted by a phone call to do an insurance quote that did not result in a sale. And I kind of figured that it wouldn't result in a sale because of the type of customer that I was, that had approached me. I want to say that's neither here nor there, though. But as I have shared from time to time, I am a licensed insurance agent, and I have my own agency. And as I shared in one Gig Geezer segment, I have an actual brick and mortar office that makes up a very legitimate tax deduction for me. It almost seems universal that apartments are not a favorite place of us gig drivers, and for good reason. I remember when I would do ride sharing, you'd had to gain access to the apartment complex community, and then it was also trying to find a place. And given the time of day that I would do most of my gig rideshare driving, it was early morning hours, and so it's in the dark, and you're trying to find building numbers that are poorly marked, or I mean, it was just a disaster of a situation. But then once I started doing package deliveries for Amazon Flex, and then later, obviously, food delivery, gig work. The problem that I also found was that some of these apartment complexes, man, the apartment numbering does not make any sense. Just to visualize this, there's this one apartment complex. It's taken me 3 years to try to figure it out, and I still get stumped sometimes, in which I'll go to the wrong side. But just visualize this. To your left, you have on first floor apartment numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. Visualize on the right side 5, 6, 7, 8. Second floor 9, 10, 11, 12. To the right, second floor 13, 14, 15, 16. Third floor left 17, 18, 19, 20. And then third floor to the right 21, 22, 23, 24. Now, already, what had already thrown me off about apartment complexes once I started doing gig work, going to this other facet of gig work in 2019, was that me being a homeowner for a long time, I'd been almost 20 years removed from any type of apartment living environment. And so it took me a while very quickly to understand that in some places, okay, you may have on one side even number apartments, and then it'll be level 1, it'll be those 14, 15, 16, 17, or 11, 12, 13, 14, something like that. And then if it's a bottom level, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then second floor, 20, start the apartment numbers will be 21, 22, 23, 24, and then third level 34, 35, 31, 32, 33, 34, something like that. I mean, you gotta understand where I'm going with that, I hope. Well, it took me a while to understand those type of things, those type of nuances with apartment complexes. But even then, you still find one that just throws you off with its numbering. A while back, in fact, about a couple of weeks ago, I shared where there was one apartment complex. The number, the building number was up on the roof trim line, and then on another building, it was on a column. The number was vertically arranged, but on a column. I mean, who's looking for all that stuff? You just like something to be visible. It says building 1, building 2, or building 100, or 1,000, whatever it is. Something that makes sense, something that is visible and is not confusing. But enough ranting. I just accepted an $8.50 one-item order from DoorDash from American Deli. That one's going to take me about 10-12 minutes to deliver, and hopefully I will get hopefully 2 more orders over the next hour or so that I can say I've made what I'm going to make for the first half hustle. Now, the reason why I'm actually doing this segment of the Gig Geezer again is because I came off of a rather horrible Tuesday. In fact, I've reached a point where what I've tried to do now is Tuesday is kind of my throttle back day. I may go out for one half of a hustle, but even the half hustle that I went out for yesterday was rather challenging for the 3 hours, 15 minutes, about 3 hours, 15 minutes that I was out active working deliveries. So I'll get back with you once I've picked up this order and or having stacked yet another order across another app. All right, give you an update. All right, so long since dropped off the DoorDash for $8.50. I've since accepted and delivered a $9.02 Uber Eats order from, of all places, McDonald's. But the drop-off location was less than 2 miles from the restaurant. So that's one reason why I took it. And also it put me in a position where I was able to catch an Instacart 6-item order from the Fresh Market, which I'm looking at. It's awning right now. Fresh Market, 6 items, again, $17 and change. And if all the items are there, that's going to bring me to $1.10 and change in less than 4 hours for the first half hustle. But that's more of a Gig Geezer type hustle, and definitely a nice rebound to yesterday's half hustle. Okay, so now we picked up 5 of the 6 items that were available at the fresh market. And now I am probably about 3 minutes away from dropping off this Instacart order, which will bring it into my first half hustle. Now, because one of the items wasn't available, it was blueberries. Who knows? I mean, 6 items, it could be a flat tip, or it could be one based on a percentage of the dollar amount. I'm gonna guess that this order is gonna pay at least $15. If it pays at least $15, I'm up around $1.08, maybe $1.09. Then again, I may be surprised altogether. But I'm gonna get back with you very shortly after dropping off this order and continue the conversation. Okay, so I'm about 7-8 minutes removed from having dropped off that Instacart order. The Instacart order did in fact pay $17.26. There was a $6 tip on this order. Yeah, it was a flat amount. Apparently, Instacart put more on it in terms of the base amount. But I jumped at it for $17.26, 6 items. Yeah, I'll do that one. So that puts me at $1.10 for the first half hustle. It was completed in about 3.75 hours, which is pretty good considering how slow things have been and how really the market has changed, not only for me in the Columbia area and probably for you as well. Now I am here at the gas station, not looking forward to pumping in $65 worth of gas at $4.65 a gallon. If you'd asked me that 10 years ago, 5 years ago, definitely 20 years ago, I probably would not have fathomed the thought of gas being $4.65 a gallon. In fact, let me put it to you like this. I came to South Carolina in 1993, and I remember this very distinctly. It was a Texaco gas station where I put money in my tank on a 1990. Actually, I had a 1988 Ford Escort at the time, and so that vehicle was 4 years old. Gas at that Texaco station was 91 cents for regular. It was 99 cents for mid-grade and $1.09 for premium. Can you believe that? And that was in 1993. Now, 10 years later, gas was still, you would say, relatively cheap. I remember gas was as low as $1.25 before it went up to around about $1.50, $1.60 a gallon. And it was like, oh no, the world's coming to an end because it's approaching $2 a gallon, which in fact it did in what, 2004, 2005. Yeah. I mean, I can't fathom all this stuff. I'm old enough to say these things. I mean, hey, I remember when I was in grade school, gas was like 45 cents a gallon. In fact, when I was in college at Texas Southern back about in the mid 1980s, so when I went back in 1985, I remember the oil market had depressed, and so gas at one point was 65 cents a gallon. And then when I bought that 1988 Ford Escort, brand new off the lot, 12 miles on the odometer, gas for regular was 75 cents a gallon. This is 1988. Yeah. In fact, I remember driving from Atlanta to Richmond, Virginia on that Escort, one tank, it cost me less than $15. All right, it is several hours later, and I am in the midst of my second half hustle. And in fact, I'm about 1.75 hours into the second half hustle. I've completed 2 orders, and I've got 2 orders in hand. The 2 completed orders are an $8.61 Uber Eats from, of all places, Taco Bell. The reason why I accepted it is because it was decent miles, roughly 5 miles, and the Taco Bell location was open. I know a lot. There are a number of locations in the Columbia metropolitan area whereby you have to go to the drive-in, and that's, I mean, we're talking 2 years now of that. The other order that I completed was a Grubhub from El Jimador for $9.06. Now, what I have in hand is an Instacart order. It was 22 items. There were a couple of substitutions. The offer amount is for $14 and change. This could pay, it could creep up to $15, but I'm not counting on it. And then the other order is a Grubhub and it's one half of what was a stacked order that I accepted for $38.06. The two places were Wild Wings Cafe and Red Lobster. Now, unfortunately, with Grubhub, and in fact, there's one of my subscribers, DoorDash sucks. He pretty much calls all the places suck. Uber Eats suck, Grubhub suck, and I agree. Grubhub absolutely sucks. Now, why do I say Grubhub sucks? Well, most of us know that Grubhub's quality, at least for drivers, has just fallen off the ledge over the past year. Once it was announced that they were looking to be bought by somebody else and the acquisition occurred, the good paying orders that Grubhub was once known for, I mean, if you really wanted to make some money, I mean, Grubhub was the place to get on at. But not anymore. I mean, Grubhub sucks in that regard. But what Grubhub sucks even more is when you are penalized for orders being unassigned. Now, what do I mean? If you accept a stack order, there's a good chance that if you have to wait for that first order, unless you go and mark yourself as arrived for both places, there is a good chance that you will be unassigned from one of the orders. That's just the way the app's algorithm has been set up now. It's pretty much a setup for failure. I mean, it used to be, when I first got on with Grubhub, the minimum pay was $10. And this was just 2 years ago, March 2020. But then, sometime last year, around the summer of last year, well, actually not long after I got on with Grubhub, the minimum pay dropped about $9. And then it dropped to $8. And by the summer of last year, right after the sale was completed, Grubhub fell among the likes of DoorDash and Waiter/Bite Squad and Uber Eats with its bottom dollar orders. And I didn't understand that, but then again, you know, they all suck, and I agree. But in this particular case, what I've noticed is that Grubhub penalizes drivers if you have a stacked order, and unless you go and mark yourself as arrived at both locations, you're likely to lose one of those orders. I happen to luck out this time. Now, all that said, now, I am now heading to drop off the DoorDash order, which should pay around $15. The Grubhub order brings me up to around $1.56. The DoorDash order will bring it around to $1.70 for the day, and for the second half hustle, around $60 in just under 2 hours. Now, the first half hustle was at $110 and change. Now, I come out firing with all this information, but if you like the content that's been provided in this segment of the Gig Geezer or in any other segment of the Gig Geezer, hit that subscribe button. Give my content a thumbs up. Share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in this section below. Now, when I stopped with the first half hustle, I thought I showed where I'd put in $65.33, and I got 14 gallons, just at $14 of gas. And it got me to thinking about, how do we deal with all this? I mean, we really don't have a choice in the matter. If you want to continue to make money during gig work, you're gonna have to pay the price. If you really want to continue going to your W-2 job, you're gonna have to pay the price. But at some point, you're gonna have to find a way to make additional monies. And I believe this is where the gig app companies become kind of a blessing and a curse. And I don't like using that example because it's really, I mean, what I'm saying is that it provides opportunity for some people to make money. And yeah, for some folk, they're out there for the gas. They're out there for whatever. I mean, whatever motivation there is for them, other than for someone like me, where, hey, this is gig economy money is over 90% of my money. It is basically my source of income. Even so, I'm having to diversify even more, and I've put in motion getting on with a couple of new apps. Hopefully they will help increase money for me. Before I continue with this talk about how to manage in these times, how to make yourself more marketable, I hope that DoorDash Revolution is able to archive that live session that he had a couple of days ago. DoorDash Revolution really put out some good information about what needs to be done in these times. If you claim to be an independent contractor, a self-employed person, a person who's in business for yourself, you are your best asset. You are your best asset, and you need to make a very serious assessment of yourself to find out what other ways can you maximize your income. I want to reiterate again that you are your best asset. And what happens is that sometimes you have to make self-evaluation of what can you do. One of the I remember doing this when I was a W-2 and looking for work and all that. I remember going to the library on a number of occasions and finding books that helped me to get my mind, get my head straight, get my head in a mode to where it helped propel me out of the doldrums and the situation that I was in, being out of work. But one thing I always remember when I guess when you could say when I kind of get stuck with money situations, I go back and ask myself, what is it that I do best? What is it I'm good at? And you should be able to come up with at least 3 things that you're good at, 3 reasonable things. Okay. Now for me, for a while I pursued publishing books, writing books. Now I made a modest amount of money doing books, writing books and publishing books. The business changed significantly when I got into it, and we're talking back in 2008, 2009. And a lot of the folk who when I got in, they're out of the game. And so as for me, admittedly, I just haven't had the creative energy in the past several years. In fact, there's a project that's kind of been shelved since 2019. There's some other factors though, but admittedly, I have struggled with the creative energy. What else do I do good? What else am I good at? Well, I guess in my own ways, I'm decent at sales. In fact, I have my own insurance agency, and I have written business. In fact, I've got some business that will be written tomorrow. So I know that I'll see some money coming down the road for that business that I've written. The other thing, as I've found, is that I'm pretty good at hustling. I've always been good at hustling. And what I mean by that is the gig economy the gig economy brings out the hustling traits that have been in me since basically childhood. I hustled at the racetrack. I've hustled playing poker, at least online poker. I've hustled at the bowling alley. But I've been able to put some of that mindset into the gig economy. And while this has done quite well for me, there's going to come a point, what all else can I do with the gig economy? A lot of people feel that the gig economy, the business models for many of these gig apps is unsustainable. And perhaps at some point some will be around, but then again, I don't want to be naive to think as when I was a newspaper reporter coming out of school back in the late 1980s, when a guy said, hey, someday newspapers are on their way down. There's going to come a day that you can read your newspaper from your TV set in your living room. I didn't want to hear that back in 1989, 1990. I just finished school. I'm trying to work my way up into business and get to a destination place. And yeah, I didn't want to hear that. I was a part of what was called the 2543 project for Knight Ridder. In fact, Knight Ridder doesn't even exist now. Goes to show you how things change, man. The 2543 project was to reach baby boomers, because baby boomers have shown to have different reading habits, and so the newspaper tried to innovate ways to reach that audience. And at the time, I was at the younger end of side of the spectrum of the baby boomers. But the point is that I don't want to be naive to think that newspapers are going to be around forever. And now you can barely find a newspaper. In fact, I haven't read a newspaper in over 20 years and have no interest in reading a newspaper. And so, translating that thought, I don't want to be naive to think that, hey, gig economy is going to be around forever. So I know that I've got to diversify myself even at this stage in life, for a lot of reasons. I mean, hey, I'm the gig geezer. I'm an old guy. At some point, I may not have the ability, the energy, or anything to get out here as I have so far. Life may catch up with me. And so I have to do things to put myself in a better position. So, one thing, I hate to say this though, but I'm going to solicit it. If you want to help the gig geezer out, put himself in a better position, hit that subscribe button. Give my content a thumbs up. Share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below, because YouTube will recognize that in its algorithm and put my stuff out there more. So, and I do believe that my content is helpful to others, and I thank y'all who have shared in your comments that I have motivated you or have helped you with my content. So, I'm about 3 to 5 minutes away from dropping off this Instacart order, and I'll get back with you once I'm closer towards the end of this second half hustle. Alrighty, I am back, and you notice that I have a jacket on even though it's 82 degrees. The reason for the jacket is because about 10 minutes ago I was in the midst of dropping off the Instacart order, which paid $14.75. So that was closer to 15, and so that puts me at $32.01 for today with Instacart orders, 2 of them. Now, just as I was about to get out my vehicle, it started to rain. Typical southern humidity type rain, and it was pretty heavy. And so once I go to this Grubhub pickup situation, which is a $15.25 order at Tokyo Grill, I will I will shed myself of the jacket once again. The Grubhub order is going to put me at about $1.86, $1.87 for the day, and about $76 for the second half hustle, and we're talking about 2.5 hours in now. So that's going to leave me 1, maybe 2 orders away from reaching the daily goal of $200. Additionally, I talk about how you need to maximize yourself as an independent business person. Another thing that needs to be done, at least in the midst of, if you're going to be doing gig work and working on gig apps, I've shared this nugget from time to time. Learn how to stack orders across multiple apps. Get comfortable with doing that, because with these gas prices, you can't just do one-out orders all the time. You're going to have to try to put yourself in a position or find ways of maximizing your hustle by stacking orders. Now, you may be concerned about customers getting mad at you, but you also have to be mindful of the apps that you're working when you do that. Now, if you're dealing with DoorDash, you know that customers are quick to want to give you a bad rating, but they can't take away your tip. So yes, there's a little balancing act there. With Uber Eats, you got both the bad mark and the customer possibly taking away your tip, but you can, at least as best as memory serves me best, you can always get out of that order. You can unassign yourself from that order before marking it as picked up. Once you have marked it as picked up, you're bound to deliver that order, at least from a contract violation standpoint. Grubhub, which sucks. What you have to be mindful of when you're stacking orders is that Grubhub is quick to want to take orders from you, and Grubhub is very quick at wanting to assess contract violations. Grubhub has gotten really rogue about this, and so you have to you have to make sure that Grubhub is in a, I'm not going to say a perfect situation, but you want to make sure that it's a situation that you can somewhat execute without any issue. Waiter/Bite Squad, well, it is what it is with those guys. You can actually work multiple orders, but if you hold that order too long, Waiter/Bite Squad will unassign the order from you. Another thing is that if you take too long for it, there's a potential that Waiter/Bite Squad would take the order from you. You don't get paid at all. So you better watch out. Now, what I have managed to do is actually stack orders with Instacart. You say, how? Why? How? Easy. No, and I've shown an example in a recent Get Geezer segment where I'd stacked in fact, in this segment, I stacked actually a Grubhub with an Instacart. Yes, it can be done. Now, what I believe that DoorDash Revolution is talking about in terms of multi-apping these apps, he's talking in the concept of you're multi-apping from the standpoint as being a delivery, you're multi-apping in the concept of as a standard DoorDash delivery person delivering orders, the on-demand orders, but then you have the possibility of doing the large orders, which is another facet of DoorDash, and then there's the pizza program orders, which is another facet, but they all count as DoorDash under its umbrella of delivery. And then what else? They've gotten rid of the drive program, so you don't have that anymore. But you do have the shop and pay orders, which is another facet of DoorDash. So there are ways to multi-app within DoorDash without going to other apps. Now, I'm pretty sure though that DoorDash Revolution will call me out if I'm talking bad information, which I hope I'm not doing. I think I've listened to him in such a way that I think I understand where he's coming from. But what I'm talking about is really, as some call it, the dirty apping or the rogue apping. I'm talking about being willing to roll the dice and make your money that way. Because, again, you can do single orders, but you got to have that volume of single orders to make it work, given the way gas prices are. I mean, you got to understand, since 2021, gas prices have basically doubled. In fact, within this year, gas prices have gone up almost $2 a gallon. So, you have to figure out ways. I'm suggesting ways and showing ways, but you have to make that decision as well. And so, I suggest that you need to get a little backbone. Get tough with this, because if you don't, you're going to be complaining about how you're not making any money. Now, it hurts for me to have to put, make sure I've got $65 in my account every other day, or if it's a Monday, making sure that it's $130. I've not yet had to make sure that I've had $200 in my account, but $130, man, that's a good chunk of change, man. That used to be gas for an entire week just a year ago. So anyway, I'm about to go inside, pick up this Tokyo Grill order, and I'll get back with you probably once I also accepted a DoorDash shop and pay order for Target, and so I'll get back with you whether I'll let you know what happened with that decision. Alrighty, I am in the midst of dropping off first the Grubhub order for $15.25 from Tokyo Grill, but I also stopped and completed the shopping and paying for a $14.50 DoorDash from Target, 12 items. One item was actually refunded. But again, that's a good thing about DoorDash with the shop and pay. You don't have to worry about losing any of your tip, because you don't have to worry about it. DoorDash still pays you the full amount once you have completed the shopping. Now, the $14.50 DoorDash is going to put me at exactly $200 in change and $90 in 3 hours. And I'm okay with that. All I have to do is get this order to the customer in a timely manner, and I've won all the way around. Now, Grubhub, yeah, I kind of piss them off because I'm going to be about 7-8 minutes behind the estimated arrival time, but it's still not going to be enough to trigger the algorithm and a possible friendly, well-written email telling me to hurry up with delivering orders. Alrighty, I am back. It's another day, and I'm here to wrap up the previous day's grind. Now, I want to at least clarify some things about that double stack Grubhub order. The double stack Grubhub order that I accepted was for $38.06. The two places were Wild Wing Cafe and Red Lobster. Now, what happened was when I accepted that order, I was actually closer to the Red Lobster location than I was from Wild Wing Cafe. Now, I opted to wait for that order, and while waiting for that order, Grubhub kept sending me warnings about, hey, you need to move to the other location. You need to move to the other location. Well, depending on what's going on, you can do that. But my rationale for not moving towards Wild Wing Restaurant is because I have accepted Grubhub orders from that place, and I've had to unassign myself from them because Wild Wing is notorious for, with Grubhub orders, they don't receive them on their app, and then they have to place the order while you're there, and so then you have to wait for however long it's going to take for that place to complete that order. Not to mention, Wild Wing is notorious for being just slow. So I was annoyed by Grubhub unassigning me from that order because I'd actually gotten a contract violation just the day before. So now I've got a contract violation that's sticking with me until September 4th for Grubhub unassigning too many orders. Well, part of the reason why Grubhub unassigned some of those orders that they're saying that was an excessive number is because I had accepted double stacked orders. And while waiting for the double stacked order, Grubhub unassigned me. So that tells me then that the app is behind that, and so there is that potential of you having orders unassigned if they're double stacked. It used to be it wasn't like that. So what I did was I contacted Grubhub support and informed them what was going on, and so they sent me notification how they actually removed that quote mark against me. So as it turned out, the Red Lobster order was the better paying of the two, and that one paid $28.06, and it went to a lady whom I delivered to before. Now, that lady, very few times do I mention customer's name. Miss Juliet, man, she's a good person. She actually greeted me at the door, and I recognized who she was, and she told me how she tips, and she tips well. And all I could respond was, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Because she actually, on that particular order, she tipped $25. The last thing I want to mention about is the total amount of money made. Now, I put in right at around 8 hours, if memory serves me correct. And according to Gridwise, I made $212 and change. $202 and according to Gridwise, I made $202 and change. 74 of that was made through DoorDash. Another 61 and change was from Grubhub. 32 and change was from Instacart, and another $34 was from Uber Eats. So that's all I have for this segment of the Gig Geezer. If you like the content that's been provided in this segment or in any other, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. And with that, I'm Inwood Lane, and as always, may your grind and may your hustle continue.